welcome back to my channel. I'm back with Stardust. I'm going to be reading chapter 4, part 3. Yeah, this chapter was a little longer than I thought. These certainly were fine new clothes. Well, clothes do not, as the saying would sometimes have it, make the man, and fine feathers do not make fine birds. Sometimes they can add a certain spice to a recipe. And Tristan Thorn in Chrism and Canary was not the same man that Tristan Thorn in his overcoat and Sunday suit had been. There was a swagger to his steps and a jauntiness to his movements that had not been there before. His chin went up instead of down, and there was a glint in his eye that he had not possessed when he had worn the bowler hat. By the time they had eaten the meal, the little hairy man had brought back with him from revelry, which consisted of smoked trout, a bowl of fresh shell peas, several raisin cakes, and a bottle of a smaller beer. Tristan felt quite at home with his new garb. Now then, said the little hairy man, you saved my life, laddie, back there in this here wood. And your father, he done me a good turn back before you was born, and let it never be said that I'm a cove that doesn't pay his debts. Tristan began to mutter something about how his friend had already done more than enough for him. But the little hairy man ignored him and continued, so I was pondering, you know where your star is, don't ya? Tristan pointed without a thought to the dark horizon. Now then, how far is it to your star? Do you know what? Do you know that? Tristan had not given a matter of thought hitherto, but he found himself saying a man could walk only stopping to sleep while the moon waxed and waned above him half a dozen times, crossing treacherous mountains and burning deserts before he reached the place where the star had fallen. It did not sound like him at all, and he blinked with surprise. As I thought, he said the little hairy man, approaching his burden and bending over it, so Tristan could not see how it unlocked. And it was not like you're the only one who'll be looking for it. Remember what I told you before about digging a hole to bury my dung in. Now that, and about telling no one my true name, nor my destination, nor that, then that. How many miles to Babylon? Recite the man. Oh yes, that. Can I get there by candlelight? There and back again. Only it's candle wax, you see. Most candles won't do it. This one took a lot of finding and pulled out of a candle stub the side of a crab apple and handed it to Tristan. Tristan could not see in any way out of the ordinary about the candle stub. It was wax candle, not hollowed, and it was much used and melted. The wick was charred and black. this too. You'll need it. It glittered in the moonlight. Tristan took it. It seemed to be a thin silver chain with a loop at each end. It was cold and slippery to the touch. What is it? The usual cat's breath and fish scales and moonlight on the mill pond, melted and smithed and forged by the dwarves. You'll be needing it to bring back your star. You bring your star back with you. I will. Oh yes. Tristan let the chain fall into his palm. It felt like quicksilver. Where do I keep it? I have no pockets in this confounded clothes. Wrap it around your wrist until you need it. There you go. But you've a pocket in your tunic. Under there, see? Tristan found a concealed pocket above there was a small buttonhole, and in the buttonhole he placed the snowdrop, the glass flower that his father had given him, as a luck token, as they had left Wall. He wondered whether it was in fact bringing him luck, and if there was it a good luck or bad? Tristan stood up. He held his leather bag tightly in his hand. Now then, said the little hairy man, this is what you got to do. Take up a candle in your right hand. I'll light it for you. And then walk to your star. Then use the chain and bring it back here. There's not much wick left on the candle, so you'll best be snappy about it. And step lively and dwelling, and you'll regret it. Feel my nimble and light, yes? I suppose so, yes, said Tristan. He stood expectantly. The little hairy man passed his hand over the candle, which lit with a flame yellow above and blue below. There was a gust of wind, but the flame did not flicker even when it was slightest bit. Tristan took the candle in his hand, and he began to walk forward. The candle illuminated the world, every tree and bush and blade of grass. With Tristan's next step, he was standing beside the lake, and the candlelight shone brightly on the water. And then he was walking through the mountains, the lonely crags, where the candlelight was reflected in the eyes of the creature of the high snows. And then he was walking through the clouds, which, while not entirely substantial, still supported in his weight and comfort. Then, holding tightly to his candle, he was underground, and the candle light glinted back at him from the wet cave walls. Now he was in the mountains once more, and then he was on the road through wild forest, and he glimpsed a chariot being pulled by two goats, being driven by a woman in a red dress, who looked for a glimpse he got of her the way Boadicea was drawn in the history books. And another step, and he was in a leafy glen, and he could hear the chuckle of water as it splashed and sang in its way into a small brook. He took another step, but he was still in the glen. There were high ferns and elm trees and foxgloves, and in abundance, and the moon had set in the sky. He held up the candle looking for a fallen star, but he saw nothing. He heard something, though, under the babbling of the brook, sniffling and a swallowing, and the sound someone trying not to cry. Hello, said Tristan. The sniffing stopped, but Tristan was certain he could see a light beneath the hazel tree, and he walked towards it. Excuse me, he said, hoping to pacify whoever was sitting beneath beneath the hazel tree and praying that it was not more than a little people who had stolen his hat. I'm looking for a star. In reply, a clod of wet earth came under the tree and hit Tristan on the side of his face. It stung a little, and fragments of earth fell down in his collar and under his clothes. I won't hurt you, he said loudly. This time, as another clod of earth came hurtling towards him, he ducked out of the way and smashed into an elm tree behind him. He walked forward. Go away, said a voice, all raw and gulping, which sounded like it had just been crying. Just go away and leave me alone. She was sprawled awkwardly beneath the hazel tree, and she gazed up at Tristan with a scowl of complete unfriendliness. She hefted another clod of mud at him menacingly, but did not throw it. Her eyes were red and raw. Her hair was so fair it was almost white. Her dress was a blue silk and shimmered in the candlelight. She glittered as she sat there. And there's the star. Please don't throw any more mud at me, pleaded Tristan. Look, I didn't mean to disturb you. It's just there's a star fallen somewhere around here, and I have to get it back before the candle burns out. I broke my leg, said the young lady. I'm sorry, said Tristan, but the star. I broke my leg, she told him sadly, when I fell. And with that, she heaved her lump of mud at him. Glittering dust fell from her arm as it moved. The clod of mud hit Tristan in the chest. Go away, she sobbed, burying her face in her arms. Go away, leave me alone. You're the star, said Tristan, comprehension dawning. And you're clodpole, said the girl bitterly, and Nini and Nupskull and Lackwood and Coxcomb. Yes, said Tristan, I suppose I am that. And with that, he unwounded one end of the silver chain and slipped it around the girl's slim wrist. He felt the loop on the chain tighten about his own wrist. She stared up at him bitterly. What? She asked in a voice that was suddenly beyond outrage, beyond hate. Do you think you are doing? Taking you home with me, said Tristan. I made an oath. And the candle stubbed, guttered violently as the last wick floated in the pool of wax, and for a moment the candle flame flared high, illuminating the glen and the girl, and the chain unbreakable that ran from her wrist to his. Then the candle went out. Tristan stared at the star, at the girl, and with all that might managed to say nothing at all. I can get there by candlelight, he thought, there and back again. But the candlelight was gone, and the village of Wall was 6 months hard travel from here. I just want you to know, said the girl coldly, that whoever you are and whatever you intend to with me, I shall give you no aid of any kind, nor shall I assist you, and I shall do whatever it is in my power to frustrate your plans and devices. And then she added with feeling, idiot. Said Tristan, can you walk? No, she said, my leg is broken. Are you deaf as well as stupid? Do your kind sleep? He asked her. Of course, but not at night. At night we shine. Well, he said, I'm going to try to get some sleep. I can't think of anything else to do. It's been a long day for me. What with you should try to sleep too. We've got a long way to go. The sky was beginning to lighten. Tristan put his head on his leather bag in the glen and did his best to ignore the insults and imprecations that came his way from the girl in the blue dress at the end of the chain. He wondered what the little hairy man would do. When Tristan did not return, he wondered what Victoria Forrester was doing at that moment and decided that she was probably asleep in her bed, in her bedroom, in her father's farmhouse. He wondered whether 6 months was a long walk and what they would eat on the way. He wondered what stars ate, and then he fell asleep. Dunderhead, pumpkin, dolt, said the star, and then he sighed and made herself as comfortable as she could under the circumstance. The pain from her leg was dull but continual. She tested the chain about her wrist, but it was tight and fast, and she could neither slip from it nor break it. Grannius Burmius oaf, she muttered, and then she too slept. Okay, that's the end of chapter 4, part 3. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell for notification, comment, share, follow me on Instagram, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.